Welcome to the domain tracer. In previous video, I have told you how to secure WHMCS, and in this video, I am going to tell you how to configure your WHMCS. So, first, how to set up general WHM setting, then go to the general settings from here and enter your password and click on confirm password. So in this page you can see the different fields are available like general, localization, ordering domains and others. So in first general setting we have to set our company name here. My company name is Domain Racer. Then email address is the default sender address used for email sent by WHMCS. This is domain, the URL to use website homepage. Then logo URL. If your site having logo, then enter the URL here. Currently my site don't have any logo, so I am not entering any URL here. After that, this is the pay to text. In pay to text, that is we have to add the address of our company. So I am adding the address of my company, that is sir. So this is my company address. Next is a WHMCS URL. Here I have used HTTPS. That means more secured. After that, system themes, that is here by default set is 21. I am setting here 6. After that, limit activity logo. Here by default is 10,000 is set. By logo entering the maximum number of system level activity log entries you wish to retain. After that, a record to display per page. Here already set here 50. Then next is a maintenance mode. In a maintenance mode is useful while upgrading WHMCS, and in this case I am not going to enabling maintenance mode, because if you enable this then client cannot able to log in. So I am not going to enable this option. Keep it as it is. Then maintenance mode message, this is by default message here. After that, maintenance mode redirect URL. If you enter URL here, it will redirect client area visitors. But currently I am not entering any URL here. Next is a friendly URL. You can choose any friendly URL from here. But as I am using this for demonstration purpose, so I will keep it as a basic URL. But for more SEO friendly, you can choose first, that is full friendly rewrite, but I am choosing here basic URL. Then next click on advanced setting. In advanced setting you can see here is the URL path mode override, then click here, that is on, and this is environment mode inspections, that is fully friendly rewrite, friendly index.php and basic URLs. Then go to the rewrite file and URL rewrite management. Here already default it is clicked, and this is the code, that is WHM's rules are here, and click on close here and click on save the changes. You can see our changes are saved successfully. So next is a localization part. Here you can see the system character, that is by default. Next is a global date format. You can see the different date formats are present here. You can choose whatever you want from here. Next is a client date format. Here is the by default format is Monday, January 1st. You can choose as per your need. Next is a default country. Here is the United States is a default country. You can choose any country as per your need. Next is a default language. Here is the English is a default language. You can choose any language from here. Next is a enable language menu. That means it allows user to change the language of the system. So check this box. Next is a dynamic field translations. This is enable localization of supported database field value to multiple languages. So next is a remove extended UT of 8 characters. That is when you click on this box, then automatically remove 4 byte UT of 8 characters such as emoticons from customer tickets, posts and emails. Next is a phone number. When you click on this box, then it is enable international phone number input interface and automatic formatting. So these are the changes and click on the save changes. Here you can see our changes are successfully saved. Next is a ordering. In ordering, order day grace, that is by default is 0. Next is a default order form templates. I am choosing here legacy boxes. Next is a sidebar toggle option, in which check to enable the display of a sidebar toggle button on order from product selection pages. Next is a enable toss acceptance. I am keep it is blank because if ticket, a client must agree to your terms of services. Next is a terms of services URL. Currently my company don't have services URL, so I am keeping this blank. Next is a auto redirect on checkout. This is by default automatically forward the user to the payment gateway. Next is a allow notes on checkout. Then if you check this, then it shows a field on the order form where the customer can enter additional info stuff. Next is a monthly pricing breakdown. Yes, I want to click this box because for example, if someone sign up for domaindresser.com domain and another one user is also asking to sign up for domaindresser, that is domaindresser.com, in that case I will not allow to another user to register the domain. Next is a block existing domain, that is by default to check to prevent order being placed for domains already in your system. Next is a no invoice email on order, that is check to not send an invoice created notice when a new order are placed. So click on this block. Next is a skip fraud check for existing. Yes, I want to click this because check to skip the fraud check for existing clients who already have an active order. Next is a only auto provision for existing. That means if you enable this option, then auto provision is applied for the existing client only, not for new client. So I am not going to select this. Keep it as it is. Next is a enable random username. This will create confusion to your user to remember the random username. So keep this unchecked. Next is a sign up anniversary, and that means on anniversary of client, new date of all product will set. For example, if you sign up today, he bought 2 or 3 product, date of all products in anniversary of that client. So anniversary is nothing but 1 year completion, keep it by default. Next is enable product cross selling, that is keep it as it is by default, and click on save the changes. Here you can see our changes are saved successfully. So next section is a domains. In this, domain registration options are present. Here allow client to register domain with you. I have clicked here. Allow client to transfer a domain to you, and allow client to use their own domain. So all these fields I have clicked here. Next is a enable renewal orders, that is check to show the domain renewal cart category, allow clients to place renewal order early if they wish. Next is a auto renewal on payment, then automatically renew domains which are set to support register when they are paid for. Next is a auto renewal request product, and that is also selected only auto renewal free domains that have a corresponding activity product services for that same domain. Next is a default auto renewal setting, that is also selected. This can be changed for domain but set the default of whether invoice should auto generate for expiring domains. Next is a create to-do list entries, that is also checked when to create to-do list entries for new failed domain actions that require manual interventions. Next is a allow IDN domains to enable internationalized domain name IDN support. Next is a domain grace and redemption fees, that is enable. Next is a domain grace and redemption fee billing, that is click that add grace and redemption fees to existing invoice. Next is a default name server. Here already I have set the name server. If you don't know how to set your name server, then I have already created video on this. Go to the description. I have given the link in there. Next is a default name server 2, that is also domaintracer.preview. Next is a use client details. If you click on this box, then this information will display on client newly registered domain with you, and somebody will check or use this data. So this is not right way. So I am not selecting this box. Uncheck this box. Click on save the changes. So here you can see our changes are successfully saved. Next is a email. So come to the next section, that is email. In email, mail provider is PHP, that is PHP mail, that is by default, and keep it as it is by default. This is the coding part here. And come to the system email from name. Here is our company name is Domain Racer. Next is a system emails from email. Whenever WHMCS drop mail, then that will come from this email. Next is a BCC messages. Then enter the email ID here, so that will get the copies of all emails sent by the system. Next is a pre-sales from destination. Keep it as default. Next is a content from email. In this, I am entering the sales @domain racer. Click on save the changes. So here you can see our changes are saved successfully. Next is a support section. In support section, you can see here the support module is WHMCS built in system. Keep as a default. Next is a support ticket mask format, that is by default. Next is a ticket reply list order, that is ascending oldest to newest, that is good one. Next is ticket reply email limit, that is 10. You can change as per your need. Next is a show client only department. And this, if you check, then it will show the client only departments to guests, not logged in visitors. So keep at its default. Next is a click tickets required login, that is required login by the owning client for viewing tickets assigned to the client. Knowledge based suggestions, that is shows suggested, that is knowledge based article to a user as they enter a support ticket message. Next is a attachment thumbnail previews, that is check to enable thumbnails previews or of images attachment required GB. Next is a attachment thumbnail previews, that is check to enable thumbnails previews of image attachment required GD. Next is a support ticket rating, that is allow user to rate support ticket reply from staff. Next one is auto add carbon copy, that is keep as a by default. Next is a prevent email reopening, that is check to prevent email replies from reopening closed tickets and to send an email advising to open a new ticket or update the existing ticket for clients. Next is a update last reply timestamp, that is click on every time to for staff reply only on a change of status for clients. Next is a disable reply email login. Click on check this box because if you not create email login entries for ticket replies, then text is already logged in ticket. So save in disk space. Allowed file attachment types, that is by default. Service status required logins, that is by default required a login to view the server status and network issue pages. Next is a include product downloads, keep as by default. And next is a allow insecure importance, that is keep as by default. Last is reopen existing tickets if importing fails, keep as by default. And click on save the changes. Here you can see our changes are saved successfully. So next is our invoice section. In invoice section, you can see the first is continuous invoice generation, that is if it is enabled, then invoice will be generated for each cycle even if the previous invoice remains unpaid. So I'm not going to select this. Next is enable matrix usage invoice, that is check to enable invoicing of matrix usage for all priced product matrix. So keep it by default. Next is enable PDF invoice, that means check to send PDF version of invoicing along with invoice emails. Next is a PDF paper size, here is I am going to set here A4, already it is by default. And next is a PDF font family, that is I am going to select here Times New Roman. Next is a store client data snapshot, that is prevent client details upon invoice generation to prevent profile changes for existing invoices. So I am not going to select this. Next is a enable mass payment, that is check to enable the multiple invoices payment options on the client area homepage. Next is a client choose gateway, check to all client to choose the gateway the pay with. So group similar line items are checked to enable automatically grouping identical line items into the quantity and description format. So these 4 options I have selected, that is cancellation request handling. It is used to check the automatically cancel outstanding unpaid invoice when a cancellation request is submitted. Next is automatic subscription management, keep is by default. Next is a enable proforma invoicing, to check the enable proforma invoicing for unpaid invoices. So I am not going to select this. Sequential paid invoicing numbering, that is keep it default. Sequential invoice number format, that is for example year, month, day and number, you can set here. Next is a paid invoice number, that is here is by default is 1, the next invoice number that will be assigned. Last fee amount is I am going to set here 0. So enter the amount that will to apply last invoices. Next is a last fee minimum, that is keep it is by default 0.00, because enter the minimum amount to change in case where the calculation late fees fall below the figure. Next is accepted credit card types. Here you can see already by default here choosing the card type, so keep as it is. Then issue number, start date, keep it by default. Next is invoice increment. Here by default is 1. I am going to set here 3, because entering the difference you want between invoice number generated by the system. Next is a invoice starting. I am going to set here 1000 and click here save the changes. Here you can see our changes are successfully saved. So next is a credit section. In here enable and disable to check the enabling adding of fund by client. So I am going to check this. Minimum deposit is 10. So I am going to add here 100. Maximum deposit is 100. So I am going to set here 300. And maximum balance is here is by default 300. I am going to set here 1300. So required active order, it is by default and others are also by default. So click on save the changes. So our changes are successfully saved. Next is a affiliates. So here check the enable the affiliate system. Click here. Then affiliate earning percentage is I am going to set here 10. Then affiliate bonus deposit is I am going to set here $10. Next is affiliate payout amount is here by default is 25, but I am going to set here $100. Here is the enter the minimum amount of affiliate have to reach before making a withdrawal. Next is a affiliate commission delay, that is here by default is 0, but I am going to set here 30 to enter the number of day to delay commission payment, then only pays if amount is still active. Next is here the payout request department, other things are kept by default as it is, and click on save the changes. Here our changes are saved successfully. Now come to the security section. Here the email verifications are here. Then request user to confirm their email addresses on sign up or change the email addresses. Then I am going to click here. Then next is a captcha from protection, that is off when login. Next is captcha type, that is by default 6 characters verification code. Next is captcha for selection form, that is by default here is selected. Next is a auto generated password format, here by default is selected. Next is a minimum user password strength, that is 50, that is good enough. Next is a failed admin login ban time, that is 15 minutes. Next is a whitelisted IPs option. That is, here you can add your IP addresses, whitelisted IP addresses. Click on here and you can add from here and click on add IPs. Next is a whitelisted IP login failure. Here you can, if you want notice when IP login failure, then you can check this box. Next is a disable admin password reset. So I'm not going to check this because if your password is forget, then you can set from there. Next is a allow client pay method removal. That is that means to allow customer to delete the payment method associated with their account. So I'm not going to select this. Next is a disable session IP check. So it means it used to protect against cookies. Then I'm going to select this. Then proxy IP header, you can add here your proxy IP. Next is a trusted proxies. You can add from here your IP addresses. Just go to click here and add your IP address and click on add IP. Next is a API IP access restrictions. You can add here your IP addresses which are restricted. Next is a logo API authentication. So I'm going to select this because it recorded successfully API authentication in admin log. Next is a CSRF tokens. It is by default enabled. Next is CSRF tokens domain checkers, that is by default disabled. So click on save the changes. So our changes are saved successfully. Next is a social settings. From here you can do the social media settings like Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. So I'm adding here domain tracer, and below are the social sharing options. So I'm not going to use in this project. So click on save the changes. So our changes are successfully saved. Last section is a other section. Then click on it. Here the marketing emails are here. Check to enable marketing emails option input output functionally. That is by default is check. Next is a request user option is by default disabled. Next is a marketing email OPT in messaging. That is, we would like to send you occasional news, information and special offer by mail. Next is a admin client display format. That is, first is a show first name and last name only. That is good one. Next is default to client area. It is by default. Next is disable client area user management. That is, prevent owner from inviting or managing user associated with their account. Next is allow client registration. So I'm going to uncheck this because it is allowed to register without ordering any product services. Next is a client email preferences. That is by default. Next one, optional client profile fields. That is name, first name, last name, address. So I'm going to select this state, postcode and phone number. Next is logged client user profile fields. That is first name, last name, company name. So you can choose as per your need. So I'm going to check here postcode, country and phone number. Next is client details change notify. That is by default check to send the email notification to admin or use or on user details changes. Next is show cancellation link. That means to show the cancellation request option in the client area for products. Next is monthly affiliate reports. That is by default to send the monthly referral reports to affiliates on the first of each month. Next is banned subdomain prefixes. That is here already given mail, Gmail and webmail. So it is by default. Encoding file loading. That is do not load file encoded with icon queue for unknown PHP targets. Next is event handling. So it is by default. So these are the developing purpose. So I suggest you don't make any changes in this. Save and changes. So in this way we have saved successfully our general settings.